that being said, we started thinking which former college athletes would have benefited the most from NIL deals. We all compiled a list of 4, and we get a chance to kind of pick each other's brain on what it is. Naomi, let's get your 4.
Well, I'm going to start off with Reggie Bush, who was a no-brainer for me. I think the collective of sports fans knows that man deserves to get his Heisman Trophy back. And had it been the current day, not only would he have his Heisman, he would have made millions at USC. He led the Trojans to 34 straight victories, yet had his jersey stripped from Memorial Coliseum. We don't even have to ask, what if? I think we know how things would be for him if NIL was in place. Secondly, I'm going with Candace Parker. Her success with the Vols speaks for itself, leading Tennessee to 2 back-to-back championships, being the first woman to duck in a tourney. How about for a commercial? That's going to be, imagine that.
Yeah.
Upon being drafted, she signed contracts with both Adidas and Gatorade, but trust me, those deals were waiting at the door. And Maya Moore is third, the face of one of the winningest women's college basketball teams. She led UConn to back-to-back championships during undefeated seasons. Everyone knew she was going first overall, just a highly marketable student athlete, and it explains why she became the first woman to sign a Jordan brand. And last but not least, Deon Sanders, prime time. Now, I know he doesn't have any collegiate championships, but he was an All-American, a triathlete. He played all over that football field, made time to play baseball, and led the track and field team to a conference championship. If money was to be made, he would have made bank.
Okay.
It's a good list.
Yes, absolutely, it's a great list.
Thank you.
It is a great list. I mean, yeah, I remember how good Reggie Bush was. Of course, I'm a New Orleans Saints guy, so he made a huge impact once he came to the city of New Orleans in the state of Louisiana. Candace Parker, I was in college when Candace Parker was in college, and what she did on that court, crazy, man. And she continued to do it right now on the court. And then Maya Moore as well, and then primetime Deon Sanders speaks for itself.
I love the Candace Parker pick too, and you made a great point about those commercials that could have been when she was in college. I mean, imagine that, her dunking. She made history.
Yes,
and she did something that I think a lot of people didn't think women could do in basketball, and I mean, that was a great pick, in my opinion. All right, for mine, when I first heard we were having this discussion, the player that came to mind was Zion Williamson. Maybe recency bias, but an absolute no-brainer, in my opinion. When you consider all the hype surrounding this guy coming out of high school, mixtapes of him bodying people half his size, the legend that grew before he even stepped foot in a college arena, and then couple that with him playing for one of the most storied and high-profile programs in college basketball in the Duke Blue Devils, the endorsement deals that Zion could have secured would have been insane. Okay, moving on. Next player I thought of, Tim Tebow, and specifically his senior season. Think about this. The guy wins the Heisman Trophy his sophomore year. He then wins a national title his junior year and opts to finish out his college career rather than enter the NFL draft. That decision to play out his final year, already having established the pedigree he had, also the fact that he was playing in the SEC. Tim Tebow would have cashed out before ever playing in the NFL.
Instead of Johnny Manziel?
Well, Johnny Manziel too. We're getting to that.
Okay, just want to make sure.
We are getting to him. Number 3, Carmelo Anthony. With this next one, admittedly, little biased, but playing 1 year in college, carrying Syracuse to a national title, taking the nation by storm with his hypnotizing turnaround jumpers, Melo would have made bank, and who knows, perhaps would have stayed at Syracuse longer if he could have locked down endorsement deals. All right, I already talked about Tim Tebow, but for Johnny Manziel, let me get to him. He was my last one. Johnny Football. Think about that nickname for a second. All the deals that would have come his way, plus a Heisman Trophy winner as well. And think about when he won that Heisman Trophy in 2012, when social media really began having influence. Johnny Manziel would have done very well for himself in college.
I always think about Johnny Manziel just doing this. Show me the money, showing me the money, even though he didn't get the money and whatnot. At that point in time.
Yeah.
But, eventually he signed a first-round deal, and, we know the rest. Nah, really, really good list, man. Yeah, Zion Williamson for sure. Yeah, all the mixtapes. I mean, I remember watching him in 8th grade, and we were like, look at this guy. You thought he was a senior in high school, which he was only an 8th grader, like at 13 years old. And then, yeah, Tim Tebow, of course, we know about Tebow Mania, and everybody in the SEC country knows about what Tim Tebow did. It took for Nick Saban and the dynasty to finally take Tim Tebow and the Florida Gators down. But all these guys did great things during those times.
Absolutely. You took the words out of my mouth. And honestly, Tim Tebow, as I mentioned before, it's all about highly marketable players, and he made a great market for himself, so he would have cashed out.
Yeah. I'm proud of this list.
You should be.
All right, so those were your 2 lists. Here is my list. Let's start off with an HBCU alum in the early to mid-90s. Steve McNair broken passing records and all-time marks at Alcorn State. He actually attempted to leave college at an FCS program after his junior year, but said, hey, I'm staying around for my senior year. Eric Nair, a household name, finished 3rd in the Heisman Trophy voting. Think about this, an FCS player in the Heisman Trophy voting 3rd. At number 3, I'm showing love to the ladies. You kind of harped on this earlier, Naomi. The UConn and Tennessee women's programs were the standard when it comes to women's basketball in the 90s. Those great battles between the late Pat Summitt and Gino Auriemma, God, they always came down to the end. So think about UConn players like Rebecca Lobo, Diana Taurasi, and Maya Moore, along with Shay Ralph. Those Tennessee players, Shamika Holslaw, Tamika Catchins, Cara Lawson, just to name a few. I'm going to stay on the basketball court. No squad was more talked about in the early 90s than the Michigan Fab Five. Chris Webber, Jalen Rose, Jawan Howard, Jimmy King, and Ray Jackson, 5 All-Americans who signed with the Wolverines, and by midseason they were all starters. And this was before the one-and-done situation. So you had older teams that always had juniors and seniors playing against these guys. In this squad, they changed the game with the hip-hop culture, the big shorts, and the black Nikes. They made it to back-to-back NCAA title games. And finally, my top choice is Shaquille O'Neal. Before making it to the NBA, Shaq was larger than life at LSU. Not only was he a great player, he also was charismatic, and everyone wanted to be a part of the Shaq Attack. Imagine if you could have sold Shaq Attack t-shirts back then. He would have made bank off of that. And who didn't want to break backboards and block shots? And sure, a lot of people knew about Christian Laettner during that time, but everyone really wanted to be like Shaq. It showed off a lot when he got to the NBA. Think about the movie deals, the rapping deals, the Pepsi deals, and you can't stop the rain. I mean, just think about it. So there's my list for you.
I absolutely love Shaq being on that list because you even see what he's doing now with commercials. I mean, it's Papa John's, it's that insurance thing. Like, his face is everywhere on our TV, so imagine what it would have been while he was at LSU. It would have been
got a few skincare products too, I think.
He does.
I like the strategy of going with teams, like the Michigan Fab Five. I mean, that was sort of a brand that wasn't a brand because they couldn't get endorsement deals.
Correct.
I mean, think about that. You could brand that. You could brand UConn women's basketball, and that would have lasted 2 decades.
Correct.
Tennessee women's basketball, same thing. I think that's brilliant, and that absolutely would have made a ton of money.
Oh, no doubt about it. And also, too, I know a lot of this was kind of before you guys' time, but go back and go to YouTube and look at Steve McNair college highlights. You're going to be like, wow, this guy was something else. Of course, we saw what he did with the Tennessee Titans. God rest his soul now and whatnot, but the Titans did good last year, the year before last, by retiring his jersey alongside Eddie George. And there's still so many other players, and I think at the end of the day, you could make 100 different lists, and everybody can kind of be right in their own sense.
Absolutely.